Ready? Engage!
I'd say we're switching things up around here, but I'd still be lying, since the Switch is still churning out the shooties of all kinds and types. It's been a while since our last real twin sticker, so here's a pretty neat one for the Switch that fans of Geometry Wars should really dig.
Debris Infinity was released on the Nintendo Switch by Spanish developer SVC Games on September 21st of 2018. It definitely bears more than a passing similarity to the XBLA classic Geometry Wars, but we're betting that between the two, this one is the one to play, at least compared to the first version of Geometry Wars released in 2005. Let's take a closer look.
Debris Infinity doesn't mess around when it comes to its gameplay. It boasts simple control and addictive mechanics that make it perfect for pick-up and play sessions and binge gaming alike. It's all insanely simple. Players move their ship with the left analog stick and shoot in any direction with the right. As with most pure twin stickers, movement and shot direction are independent of each other.
In a pinch, players can slow down time with the ZR trigger or deploy a screen-clearing bomber with the ZL trigger. Half of the circular gauge that surrounds the player is dedicated to the energy that these techniques require. The time dilator will use a gradual amount while a bomber uses up a full segment. This gauge does build up again over time, so if a player runs low on power, it will eventually be restored, so long as the player has the skill to survive, of course.
Every 4 enemies of the same color will fill a gauge in the top left-hand corner of the screen. At 100%, a random power-up will be activated to allow the player to clear out enemies much more efficiently than with the regular shots alone. Rapid spread shots, powered shots, Vulcan lasers, and so forth can be obtained to chew through reams of enemies in no time at all, which allows players to rack up and maintain their combo, which we'll look at shortly. Each weapon's endurance is also displayed with a circular indicator within the player's main circular ship HUD. There's a catch though. It will become progressively harder for players to fill the bonus gauge to obtain these weapons as it is triggered more and more.
As for the other half of the player's circular HUD, this is dedicated to the player's shield. A player can get hit a number of times from the various enemies, with some inflicting more pain than others. If a player has taken damage, the shield can be recharged randomly in place of obtaining a power-up, which can help if a player gets wailed on early in their run. Most runs will only last a few minutes though. The longest as of this recording was 7 minutes and change, so care should be taken to avoid collisions as much as possible. Using time dilation or bombers definitely helps in this regard, especially in super crowded situations.
Debris Infinity also has 3 main modes: a normal mode, which pits players against an infinite flood of enemies, time attack, which tasks players with scoring as high as possible in 3 minutes, and power wave mode, which challenges players to take out enemy waves in succession with a recoverable time limit. The game's core mechanics apply to all modes, but the time attack and power wave modes are different in that a timer ring is added to the ship HUD, which can be viewed at a glance as players execute their run.
Again, any given session doesn't last very long at all. Most runs, even at the top of the online leaderboards, clock in at under 5 minutes. But this lends itself to an amazing just one more time structure that players are sure to come back to again and again, especially since cooperative gameplay is also thrown into the mix. 2 players play cooperatively with one player as the pilot and the other as the gunner, or in a versus manner for score. Thanks to the Switch being, well, the Switch, 2-player support can be had anywhere players might be.
There's only 2 very small issues here. The general UI is very slim and out of the way, which might cause players to slip up if they look away from the immediate action to see what's going on with them. Likewise, the HUD ring around the ship is a little visually distracting, which can lead to collisions if players don't pay close attention to where enemies are between the player's ship and the ring.
In any case, Debris Infinity is a game that can not only be played again and again, but also a game that's super fun to boot. But another great hook to the gameplay that makes Debris Infinity a game worth coming back to over and over is its great scoring mechanics.
Ready? Engage!
Scoring in Debris Infinity is a pretty involved process, but nothing that will keep a player from reaching a fairly decent position on the game's online leaderboard. Keeping the following points in mind, players should be able to crank out some decent scores.
Firstly, players can build up a combo that increases by destroying successive obstacles and enemies. A gauge on the left-hand side of the screen displays the amount of time left for players to make the next kill. If it empties, the combo will be broken and must be started from 0 again.
This combo directly multiplies the score of each base kill, which is then added to the base score of the unit destroyed. Obviously, getting the combo up as high as possible will allow for some pretty meaty bonuses, especially when taking out high-point enemies.
There are also universal multipliers as well, indicated in a gauge on the right-hand side of the screen. When the multiplier grows, a level-up audio cue will sound. If a player gets hit though, the multiplier will fall.
Debris Infinity also borrows the flash mechanic from Raiden, known here as Reflex. Reflex has a maximum value of 5 times, which factors into the final tally on any given kill's score. The quicker an enemy is taken out when it appears on the playfield, the higher the Reflex value will be.
So, putting it all together in a hypothetical situation, if a player has a 100 combo and the base enemy value is 3,000 points, and the player has a 3x multiplier and reflex of 2, it works out to 36,000 points per kill on that type of enemy. This formula is the key to getting stupidly high scores, especially when the combo hits multiple hundreds and even thousands on an especially great run.
But it doesn't even end there. Debris Infinity also borrows another mechanic from a game you might have heard of, called Ikaruga. In this case, color chaining. If a player takes out 4 enemies of the same color, they will earn a chain. Identically to Ikaruga, this chain starts at 100 points, and grows to 25,600 points in 10 chains. This adds a nice supplementary bonus to the mix on each group of enemies that it applies to.
Every mode in Debris Infinity has its own leaderboards with the exception of versus 2-player, which are updated automatically after the player's run. If the player beats their previous score, they will rise in the ranks when the score is finalized. Debris Infinity even displays the player's overall position just over their ship as they rise on the boards in real time, giving players immediate feedback as to whether they've broken their old score and how far they've progressed.
The end result is a game that has tremendously long legs despite its relative simplicity and deceptive lack of content. Though there aren't a ton of modes and stages here, there's still a ton to play, which is what makes for a great shooting game.
Ready? Engage!
We knew straight off the bat that Debris Infinity was going to have a pretty stellar presentation to wow us past the general Geometry Wars meets Asteroids vibe. All too often, especially with smaller indies such as this one, the sound and visuals take a backseat and can come off as pretty cheap. Thankfully, none of this applies to Debris Infinity.
Debris Infinity is mostly vector style, so much of its visual clout comes from the application of bloom and particle effects. This doesn't take a ton of power to pull off either, so Debris Infinity always runs at a buttery smooth rate. But it's not all vectored. A number of full, super smooth 3D elements like the title logo, announcements, and final score are also present, lit with dynamic lighting and a healthy shot of bloom. It all looks great, is what we're saying. There's even a really slick, dusty, faux glass effect when heavy bloom occurs, and a cool visual representation of the player's movement around the stage at the end of the player's run.
Sound-wise, Debris Infinity has quite a bit going for it. Unlike the first couple of Geometry Wars games, it features a good amount of BGM tracks that really set the stage for the action on screen. But it also has a great chilled track that plays post-run, perfect for unwinding after a heated attempt at a high score. All of your typical explosions, alerts, and interface sounds are just as good as to be expected from a top-tier shooter, but one thing we noticed was the inclusion of several recorded voice clips used for just one event. Especially with the level up alert, it adds a refreshing touch since that particular clip would get pretty tiresome otherwise. It's a pretty great touch.
Rounding out the presentation, a number of options also exist in Debris Infinity found within its simple, easy-to-navigate menu system. Controller vibration, bloom intensity, sound levels, and 5 menu languages are available. Again, the UI is a little too out of the way, and the HUD can cause a bit of visual obstruction, but on the whole, it's designed very well.
So, how does Debris Infinity stack up? Let's take a look.
Engage! Level up! Level up!
Just like in any other twin-stick shooter, the controls in Debris Infinity is simple but intuitive.
It can be a touch too slippery at times, though.
Debris Infinity can go on forever, and it gets plenty challenging. As of this review, there still isn't a run that has lasted 8 minutes.
Debris Infinity is a game that feels pretty easy at first, but ends up getting pretty intense very fast.
Debris Infinity may only have 3 modes, but any one of them could get drawn out to huge lengths. Well, except Time Attack.
The instant online leaderboard updates paired with easy pick-up and play mechanics make this a game that can be played forever, though.
With excellent 3D titles, solid vector-style graphics, and an awesome bloom effect, Debris Infinity looks simple but great.
The movement graph and faux dusty glass is a great touch.
The OST in Debris Infinity is downright catchy.
Debris Infinity sound effects are also well produced, especially with multiple recordings of certain voice clips.
Debris Infinity does a good job of everything it has to offer, being a mashup between Geometry Wars and Asteroids and all.
However, it does lack the number of modes that other games like it sport. That doesn't make it any less playable though. Debris Infinity is still a metric ton of fun.
At just $5 Debris Infinity is a game that won't ding players' wallets, even if they're just curious.
Given the amount of playtime that could be had, anywhere players might be, Debris Infinity's value is tremendous.
This one kind of came out of nowhere, and I'm all for a good Geometry Wars clone if it's well done. And this is definitely well freaking done. I actually prefer Debris Infinity to Geometry Wars 1, 2, and Galaxies. It's just that good. Debris Infinity gets a solid 4.75 out of 5. You can get a copy of Debris Infinity on the Nintendo eShop for about $5. Series 10 has commenced and we really need to hit the ground running. Next up, Shikondo Soul Eater.
Woo! Been looking forward to that one.
Me too, it's been quite a long time coming.
I guess we can finally put everyone's questions to rest. Yes, we're doing Shikondo.